our fourth show in the series on Finance Clinic Show. I am Dr. Pardon Mwansa, your host. It is nice to have you again join us and to explore with us principles and concepts that govern successful money management. I am very encouraged, as a matter of fact. We have heard from many people who have been watching the Finance Clinic shows. We have heard from people in Ndola, people in Livingstone, people in Kabwe, quite a lot from Kabwe, people in Lusaka, and people as far as Mwense district in Luapula province. We are so glad that you are able to join us. We hope and trust as you explore with us a better way of managing your finances, you will have a happier and successful life in finance management. Now, as you know all the time, we first of all go to the examination table to see what are the symptoms or what are the signs of a person whose life needs finance clinic. We are now going to examine the symptoms. The symptoms. Or shall we call them signs? What are the signs of a person who needs the clinic? Number one, when you ask for advances regularly. When you are paid, most of us or most people who work are paid at least once a month. When you are paid, the amount you are paid is supposed to carry you the next 30 days to your next pay date or pay time. If you find yourself after 1 week going to ask for a salary advance, or if you find yourself after 2 weeks that you have more days left before your payday, if you find yourself after 3 weeks that you have more days left before your payday and you are over with your money and you go for advances at your workplace, that is a sign that you need to attend the clinic. Now, look at the word that I have purposefully used. When you ask for advances regularly, once in a while, a person may ask for a salary advance. But when this has become a regular pattern, then you know definitely you need the clinic. The other thing is, some who may not have a job and therefore may not ask for salary advances regularly, they will be borrowing regularly. The concept here is when you don't have the means to carry yourself to the end of the month using your own generated income, but you have to ask for an advance, you need the clinic. Number two, when you fail to return a tithe. Now, some of you might be asking, what is a tithe? To many Christian communities, it is a biblical teaching that a believer returns a tithe as a way of expressing their thankfulness to God for what God has done in their lives and how God is blessing them and that God is their sustainer. They return a tithe of their income to support ministry, to enlarge the convictions they have about God. When you start failing to return the tithe, which in biblical teachings is not yours, tithe belongs to God. When you start failing to return tithe, it is time to go to the clinic. Now that we have understood the signs of a financially stressed life, one who needs the finance clinic, I shared the 3 phases of life. The first phase being 0 to 25. Under this phase, we indicated this is a phase when people have no income, but we talked about what they can do. Develop principles or values or habits that will help them know how to manage their wealth when they start earning it. We then dealt with the 25 to 60 years. This is time when people are at the highest peak in income generating. They are working, they start a family, they have higher income, and so this is the life. Now, today, we want to focus on this special group, the 60 to 70 plus years. This is the time when there is no income or less income. It's a time with a lot of things that we'll talk about. Now, I need to make one thing very clear, and please understand this. This show is not beneficial. This topic is not beneficial to the retirees who are already in retirement. Why? They already did it successfully, or they have already messed up. So please, if you are below 60, do not say today's presentation is for the retirees, because the retirees don't need this lesson. As a matter of fact, one thing I know the retirees will do as they hear me speak about this is they will be upset, they will be annoyed, they will be happy, depending on whether they prepared adequately for retirement. Why have I said this? I have said this because the people who should be preparing for retirement are people who are under 60. People under 60. Now, let's look at why do we want to talk about retirement? You know, I need to stop here. We're talking about something extremely important, quality of life in retirement. That's age 60 to 70 plus. What is quality of life? You know, I deliberately want to deal with the concept of quality of life because I have realized, and please pardon me if I sound like I'm stepping on your toes. I have realized that in most people's minds, retirement does not give them the quality of life they need. To many of them, they look at retirement, if they will only have food to eat, clothes, and a shelter, then they say, I am okay, I prepared for retirement. Now let me say this, and please understand me. When you look at our other communities around the world, around the globe, retirement is a time when a person sits down and looks at what they have not done during the 60 years. They even can consider which country have they dreamt to visit. Maybe they've always dreamt to visit Australia. Maybe they've always dreamt to visit the United States. Maybe they've dreamt to visit Israel, the Holy Land. Maybe they have wished during retirement to have the kind of life that is comparable to the life they had when they were working. You know, quality of life is important. It's not enough just to survive. It's not enough just to wake up, see the sun coming up. Quality of life has to do with you living your life in a manner that's worth living. You were meant to live life and enjoy life. And that enjoyment should include life in retirement. So as I speak about this, about retirement, I am aiming at having you come and have a quality life. Have you ever heard people pointing at retired people saying, Bamdala Valia, that man there, when he was working, those are the guys who are driving the Range Rovers and the Pajeros. Do you see now, man, there, the man doesn't even have transport. Now, let us look at what happens when people fail to prepare for retirement. What are the results of failure to prepare for retirement? Number one, you will be broke and miserable. Broke and miserable. You know, one time I was in New York, and when I landed at the airport, I got into a taxi. And as I was being driven in this taxi, I noticed that the driver was sleepy. And you know, I am very conscious of the safety of my life. So I quickly engaged him in a discussion so that he doesn't sleep. I said, sir, you must have been working for a long time now. That was 6 in the morning when I got into the taxi. The man said, yeah, son, he called me son, I have been working the past 7 hours. I started my work at 22 hours in the night. And then I said, and you mean you've been working the whole night? He said, yes. Then he made a comment. He says, and son, it is hard to keep awake at my age after retirement. So I asked him a question. Then why are you working when you are in retirement? And he said to me, I don't have money. You know, if you go into retirement without adequately preparing, you will be broke. You won't have money. You'll be compelled to start working at a time when you should be resting. You will be miserable. And that is not something you want. Secondly, your health is likely to be affected due to worries. You know, when you are in retirement and you are broke for 1 day, for 1 week, for 2 weeks, your mind will now start getting worried. How is my life going to be? And worry itself will trigger medical challenges. You will start affecting your health because of worries. Number 3, you may die of depression from worries. Now, I'm not stretching it. Believe you me, there are many people out there who are vibrant in government, great men and women. We saluted them when the vehicles passed with flags. But when they retire, because of either a lot of worries that come at that time, either due to change of life or change of anything, they go into depression. You don't see them. They simply stay in their houses. You don't want to die of depression because you did not adequately prepare for retirement. Number 4, if you live longer, you will be broke for a long time. Now, it's okay to be broke for 1 day because you can fast for 24 hours. You don't want to fast for 1 week. You don't want to go on hunger strike for 1 month. You don't want to be broke for a long time. And you know what? These days, people are living longer because of medical technology. It used to be in the olden days that when people get sick due to old age, there wasn't proper medical care, so they would die. These days, after age 60, count on 10, 20, even 30 more years. Personally, I would really love to live at least 30 years plus after I turn 60. Why? Longevity of life is a gift from God. But you don't want to live long when you are broke. That is not fun. Lastly, you will hate to live and start desiring to die. Let me tell you, some of us at our age, where you are, 22, 30, 40, 50. You may not appreciate this, but let me tell you something. When you get to over 60 and you are broke and your health is failing and so many things have happened, your friends have died because of many factors, you will start desiring to die. You will choose to die rather than to live. That's miserable. That's not good. You want to live a life of happiness and quality. So I hope these reasons are sufficient enough to let you buckle your belt, come with me, and explore how to prepare for retirement. So I would like us to look at the basic sources for retirement. What are the basic sources? Where can you get the means, the money to prepare for retirement? What is out there? There are three major sources of retirement. These three are, one would almost call them the three legs of a stool. A stool where we sit, three legs of a stool. When you take a three-legged stool, if you take out one, it can't stand. It will collapse. This is how these three are. They are all very important, and I want you to follow with me. Number one of these three sources is government retirement programs. Government retirement programs. These are nationally tailored retirement programs that are initiated by government. They are put in government acts to help people come and lead a quality life when they retire. By the way, this testifies to the fact if government, and I don't know of any government that can neglect making policies or laws on retirement because it has people. If government can put these retirement plans in place, it's because even government realizes retirement is an important phase of life. So under government retirement programs, for example here in Zambia, you will find programs such as NAPSA, programs such as the PSPF, programs such as the ALASF. All these are retirement programs nationally set by the government. They cater for teachers, they cater for civil servants, they cater for different entities that operate and work. These are programs to which you as a person, when you are employed, you need to ask, you need to know what is in place for you from the government retirement programs. Are you in it? Is your employer making sure you are on it? These are programs that are there meant for you, to be on you when you are employed, either as a teacher, as a medical worker, as ZESCO woman, ZESCO man, whatever. But secondly, the second source is employer-provided retirement fund. Employer-provided retirement fund. This is a fund different from government retirement programs. Employer-provided retirement fund has, in most cases, either two components or works in two ways. The employer may be contributing or saving for you money toward your retirement whenever you are paid. When your monthly salary comes, they set aside something. They do it. They themselves do it without your involvement. I have been privileged to work under both employer-provided retirement fund where my employers were the ones who were setting aside money for my retirement. I've also been privileged to work under an employing organization that had a program where they contributed a certain percentage and I matched it, so that both their contribution and my contribution was put together monthly toward the retirement. Here is what is important, and please, please listen to this. When you are looking for a job, don't just get any job which will just put money for you on the table for your monthly needs. If you can secure a job with an employer who has an employer-provided retirement fund, this way you will know that over and above government retirement programs, your employer is also setting aside some funds for you toward your retirement. You can even ask questions to your employer and simply say, can you clarify to me which program am I on under government retirement programs, or which program am I on under employer-provided retirement? You better ask. This is your life. It has to do with the quality of your life. Find out and know. The third leg of the stool is personal retirement savings. Personal retirement savings. Personal retirement savings are monies you yourself set aside and invest toward your retirement. These are funds you can put in a savings account and simply say, these are for my retirement. Let me talk about different ways of savings, and at a later presentation, I will come and give more details about this. Many people, when they put money into the savings account, they go into troubles, they draw all of it. That's not how you can save for retirement, because the money you set aside for retirement should not be touched. As you start saving for retirement, and let me say something here, please save regularly and any amount. As long as you are saving every month, let me tell you, 35 years is a long time. If you are saving little every month, at the end of those 35 years of active work, from 25 to 60, you will have accumulated sufficient funds. With the compounding interests, you may surprise yourself at what you may have. Now, some people may decide after they have saved sufficient funds to say, let me change my asset into a house. Let me own a house. Owning a house is another way of personal retirement savings, because when you own a house, when you finish paying for your house from your savings, that is cash transferred into an asset and it stays there. Just make sure your house is insured. I'll speak about risk management in a future presentation. But I'm at this point simply mentioning owning a house may not necessarily mean it is a safe investment if it is not risk covered. You need to have it risk covered. Now, you may also decide to use your savings by investing in other assets that are more lasting. For example, I remember I lived here in Lusaka, in the capital city of Zambia, in 1987, when I came to work here. At that time, I remember, Lusaka was a small place. When you got to Chilenje, it was a small little place compared to what it is now in 2017. that time, there were many people selling land and doing that. And actually, there was a lot of free land. Free land. But you know what? Many of us who lived here never realized that we could have purchased land at that time, and that land would have been prime land today. When you save, there are other ways you can keep your savings so that they can stay longer and stay in other forms of savings. So, back to the lesson. The three sources: government retirement programs. Number 2, employer-provided retirement fund. Number 3, personal retirement savings. You ask yourself, how are you doing when it comes to this? Now, let me talk about unreliable sources. I just talked about sources. And those 3 sources I talked about are reliable. Of course, reliable in the context of human limitations. But let me talk about unreliable sources. I have only mentioned 3. There are many. The 3 unreliable sources for retirement is, number 1, children. Number 2, to say, no, when I get to retirement, I'll be working. I won't stop work at 60 or so. I'll continue working. Number 3, I'll be running a business. Now, don't misunderstand me. All these 3 can work. But let me also remind you, all these 3 are unreliable. Let me talk about them. Number 1, children. You may bank on your child, as we have a Bemba proverb that says, "Iya kota yonka mumwana." The animal that gets old starts feeding from the child. Iya kota yonka mumwana. But you know the assumption on that? The assumption is that your child will be alive. Exactly. The assumption that you'll be fed by your child is that your child will be alive. I have seen in my days on earth, living, I have seen parents lose their children, and I tell you the truth, when I visit a parent whose 50-year-old son has died, whose 60-year-old or whose 40-year-old son or daughter has died, one of their cries, I have heard them say, my son, who will bury me? Who will care for me?" You know, life is unpredictable. You cannot say my children will take care of me, because you don't know who will go first, you or your children. Secondly, your children may be struggling economically or financially themselves. Remember, during that lifespan of 25 to 60, that's when they have wives, they have children, they have all these things. They may be committed to too many things that they won't give you quality of life. So it becomes unreliable, because you don't know whether they will be successful enough to care for you, or they will just give you the husks, the leftovers. Number 3, under children. Generally in my work counseling families, many families fight and quarrel over supporting their parents. As a matter of fact, in one of the surveys that I did, I found that there are many women who send money privately to their parents, or many men who send money to their parents privately because they don't want their spouse to know, because it brings tension in the home. Now, let me wrap up this point with this. I have lived long enough. I have associated with holy men and holy women. I have seen holy men and holy women who said, God will provide for me. And when retirement came and they were not prepared, I have seen them go through what I would not want to go through. So don't test God when God has given us knowledge on how to prepare for retirement. Now, let's look at financial strategies. What are the financial strategies that you can use to prepare for retirement? Number one, be on one of the national retirement programs. We already spoke about that. Number two, seek employment that provides a retirement plan. We spoke about that. Number three, have sufficient personal savings. We already spoke about that. Strategy number four, complete building a retirement home. We already spoke about that. Number five, acquire assets that you can be liquidating in retirement. We already spoke about that. Then next, enroll into a healthy plan befitting retirees. I didn't speak much about this, but let me refer to it. When you get into retirement stage, you are likely to incur more medical bills. So what you need to do is find out where you are. Are there programs that you can enroll in that will provide you with quality health care when you are in retirement so that your expenses are minimized? Pay off, the last one, pay off all your debts so that you are not a victim of catastrophic losses. If you don't pay off your debts while you are in the 25-60 window, I have seen people who had so huge loans when they were between 25 and 60, and in their retirement, their homes have been repossessed. Don't be a victim of that. Of course, start saving for retirement early in life. Once you get a job, start saving for retirement. Now, here are reasons that people give why they don't contribute to retirement. They say, I will start soon, meaning they always postpone this. They say, I don't have cash for savings. They say, I am too young to start. I am far from retirement. I am paying debts I already have. My children will take care of me. God is my provider. These are the common reasons that people use as to why they fail to save for retirement. I already spoke about this. I am now called a senior citizen. It simply means life is real. One day, you won't be 25. You will be clocking retirement age. Let me talk briefly about how much is enough to save in retirement. The answer to this question is dependent on many things. Number one, longevity of life. How long will you live after 60 or after retirement? Number two, your lifestyle. What was your lifestyle when you were still working? Number three, the state of your health. What do these 3 points mean? These 3 points mean if your life after retirement will be a short one, maybe your savings need to be very little. But you can't say that because you don't know how long you will live. So the best thing is prepare as if you are going to live longer, save more. Number two, your lifestyle. You don't want to move from what you were when you were working to a totally new lifestyle. So that will also enable you to know how much you must save. And then obviously the state of your health. If you've been a sickly person in your 25 to 60, you are likely to have more medical bills thereafter, so you may need to save more. These, I hope, have helped you find a way to now prepare for retirement. All right, now at this time, you know what we do. What do we do? We go to assignments. We go to assignments. So we have our assignments for today. And they are two. Number one and number two. Number one is evaluate your life to see how much you have prepared for retirement. Evaluate your life with regards to preparing for retirement. What do I mean? Go through those things that I shared on the screen And when you go through them, identify at least 2 where you will say, this one I'm okay, this one I'm okay. But if you are not okay, then ask yourself the question, what strategy, and that is assignment number 2. What strategy do I need to prepare for retirement? What strategy do I need to prepare for retirement? There are many strategies you can use. Let me say this. Most of my presentations may actually appear to be addressing only those people who work. As a matter of fact, one of the viewers sent me a message and said, but Doc, you're only speaking to people who are in the cities who work. No. You can also, even in the village, even when you don't work, you can create a business. What did we learn from the testimony we just observed? There is room for creating some business. So find a strategy that you need. Strategy do I need to prepare for retirement? And let's work with that. Here is what I would like you to go with. When you turn 60 or whenever you retire, I want you to have quality of life. So let this word ring in you. Quality of life. Quality of life. Quality of life. Until we see you at our next show, may the Lord bless you.